Hey everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
Making sure that individuals are reaching the goals they have set for themselves. That's one of the many goals of Assured Health Services. If you're looking for a residential care provider or searching for ADS services, Assured Health is your go-to place. Assured Health, helping others succeed. Learn more at assuredhealthohio.com or call 419-442-8066.
Well, Sean, welcome to the podcast. We're loving Columbus so far. We're always excited to come out this way. Beautiful country. There's a little more hillier than Northwest Ohio with all the cornfields and stuff down
Slightly.
Slightly. The further south.
Ever so slight.
Ever so slight.
An elevation.
So we've heard a lot of amazing things about Open Door Columbus. They're only good things have been heard. You guys seem to be innovative. You seem to be doing lots of fun, cool stuff in the community. But first of all, I want to know, how did you get involved in working in the IDD world? Because it's not a common path for any of us.
It isn't. I would hope it's becoming more common.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That is the goal. So our organization is Open Door Columbus, formerly Columbus Center for Human Services.
Okay.
So they received their 501c3 status in 82, kind of as a direct correlation with deinstitutionalization.
Okay.
First opening an intermediate care facility in 83. Okay. So my mother was the first social worker at that ICF in 1983.
Go way back.
Way back, yeah. I always joke with everyone at the office. Now I'm kind of walking the hallways and employed, but before that I was like just a 3-year-old running around for Easter Sunday, picking up random Easter eggs, like hopefully Easter eggs. I don't know what I was picking up at that time, but. So it was kind of a natural direction, I suppose, for me. I kind of, as I grew, I volunteered specifically with our organization, but then various other organizations kind of related to this field. My mom's a social worker, LISW, so she kind of, has bounced to different locations. She was with Disability Rights Ohio and the state ombudsman, so I was always kind of connected. I ended up getting a degree in fine arts, much to the dismay of my father.
I think all of our parents are upset about that.
It was not the top choice. But the deal was, you go to OSU, and when you eventually decide you don't want to be a professional artist, you can fall back on something else, which joke's on him. I did not. But our organization did open a studio and gallery space in 2017, Open Door Art Studio and Gallery. So I knew that there was an artistic avenue within this organization. Turnover there is almost non-existent. So
wow,
I had to wait for a little while for a position to open. I did visual merchandising, and then when a position opened, I moved in as gallery director, and then eventually became program director, and I was there for about 10 years before moving to the corporate office, now serving as community relations manager. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great career path, honestly. What else more could you ask for?
Right? Well, how did that work for you? Because I've noticed, even with myself, when you're hands-on and doing things, and then all of a sudden you get hit with the day-to-day monotony of, just the work, quote unquote.
Yeah.
How far did it take you mentally to be like, okay, I need to still be great at this level, but I still love doing it at this level?
It's a weird balance, and it's something that everyone, I think, does individualistically. And at the studio space, it especially when I entered that space specifically, it was this weird kind of push-pull of degreed artists who are now also serving as direct support professionals and administering medication. So there were these two worlds that were balancing, this world of art, this world of almost more like caregiving, and how do you balance those things logically as an artist or illogically as an artist? We tend to think in a very different way than the sort of day-to-day in care or medical fields would. You know, we're very left brain. It's very
Yeah.
rules seem bad, and we're going to fight against them, tooth or nail. So you sort of have to balance that. So I think one of the great things about our organization is that they very much do accept that sort of creative vibe that specifically the studio, now other divisions within the organization, and just the kind of overarching staff as a whole hold. So they allowed us to be quirky and different. So every time we kind of got bogged down or with something administrative or daily charting or medication administration or any of those sort of day-to-day tasks that like naturally for us feel very like scary. You know, like, oh God. There was this creative outlet and this acceptance of that was really great. For me personally, entering into kind of the administrative role, I sort of became the liaison between the county board, between NYSONG or behavioral supports. I essentially had every single one of our over 100 artists on my caseload.
Wow.
So I'm attending their annual meetings. I'm attending their monthly behavioral meetings. I'm making sure that everything is right and tight from that Medicaid standpoint. And I did end up losing a little bit of that kind of connection to the creative. But
it's give and take.
It is give and take. And when you're in a creative space, you know, it's not like I guess purposefully, I did not shut myself in a back room. So I was doing these sort of more, I guess, kind of logistical Medicaid-related tasks surrounded around artists and creativity and good energy, and everyone was really supportive of that. So it is really the give and take, I think, in this industry as a whole.
Yeah, it is interesting with people who do any form of art, whether it be like, you know, painting, drawing, filmmaking, whatever. I mean, I'm with you on this. Like, I love making documentaries and stuff, and we still have to have day jobs because everybody knows that they're not always the most lucrative things. But it is funny because you're talking about rules and all this stuff, and I think a shortfalling with a lot of the artistic people is like, everybody, the fun we get out of this stuff is making it. When it's done, we're like, whatever, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't care if anybody sees it, but then if you want it to be successful and make money, you have to show it to people, and that's hard for a lot of people in that mindset. And having a job like yours sounds like it's very much helping you and like mediate the boring chores side of thing. That's always hard for the creative person because you're like, I don't care about the rules.
Right.
I just want to party and make the cool art against the grain. But no, I mean, it is useful, and I think a lot more artists need to realize that too. Like, sometimes you can't always be against the man.
I know, it's a daily struggle. You know, like we're post modernist at this point. You know, like, fight the man.
But it is also in the way society is nowadays. It's like nobody appreciates art, but they're constantly consuming it 24/7, and it's a weird medium to be in because, like, even in everybody has a talk show, everybody has a podcast, everybody has a YouTube channel, and it's like they don't realize that is a creative art, but they take it for granted. And I think art in the context that we're talking about with a studio art. Is so much a great place for people to let go of stuff. Like, art is a form of expression and creativity to letting go, and people don't use it for that. It's like almost like a commodity now. Like, it's like buy it and sold. But I think, especially in the disability space, art is awesome because there's no rules to it. I mean, you just create. And for a lot of people, they can get lost in that. Right. And a lot of the stuff that we do day in and day out is like really boring. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not always this fun, exciting thing. Like, even the podcast, we're driving 5 hours and there's a lot of work behind the scenes, but it's like this fun, creative process right now while we're talking.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think you play out those moments. For like the gain at the end. Like the release, the fun, the cool, the exciting, you know, like it's, you know, I think that's just life in general. You're doing the mundane to get rewarded, to then do the mundane to then get rewarded. You know, like we're going for that reward. You know?
So how have you seen the art help people? Because it always helps. Even like, how many times have you heard the CEO who took up piano and it changed their life? And there's like, art always makes things better.
I think so. we are like from day one, we were very cautious never to say that we were art therapists or we were providing any kind of therapy in any specific sense, and we're not degreed therapists. So that just felt like false advertising.
And once you put the label on it, it feels kind of weird.
Yeah, a little bit. There goes the anarchy, right?
Yeah.
So I think for us as artists who are facilitating a space for artists, and I rebranded from the beginning, we're all just artists here. We're not going to market on anything other than the fact that we are artists. Some of us are degreed, some of us are not. I don't love the term outsider art, which is what the industry uses. I think that for someone who's not professionally trained, am I professionally trained? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say that. So we always just kind of marketed all of us as artists. I think art innately is just needed, whether you're visually absorbing it or you're engrossed in it to the point where it's denoting some kind of feeling out of you, whether you're practicing it. I think the physical aspect of making is important for anyone in whatever capacity you make. I think the expression is important, releasing something that's internal. Those are sort of basic practices that I utilize as an artist and that I saw every artist, not just at the studio gallery, but every artist that I've ever made contact with utilize. So I think it's beneficial just in the act of doing, making, releasing. There's gratification in the act of exhibiting and showing. We traditionally have 7 to 9 exhibitions internally and usually about 35 at external spaces annually. So our artists are they're gaining from the process of making. They're gaining from the process of exhibiting. It's what's known as a vocational habilitation program. So there's an opportunity to make money as well. I think, much like my father, the idea of whether or not art as job is still in question, and will be probably well beyond all of us. But I think those are just gimme benefits. There's nothing, I think, that doesn't benefit someone from being creative in some capacity.
That was going to be my next question as well, because as they typically say with art, it doesn't appreciate until you're dead. And nowadays, I don't think anyone's trying to wait that long to get a payout. Have you been lucky enough, or any of the other artists been lucky enough to maybe make some sufficient funds that they feel good about?
Yeah, I mean, there have definitely. I have not been lucky enough to survive. I just want to. We're starving for a reason. But yeah, I think some of our artists have most certainly found great success. One of our artists, Wallace, he was pretty much there from the beginning, and the Columbus Arts Festival, like way back in the day, on a much smaller scale than it is currently. Open Door had a booth there, and Wallace was there with the director at the time, actually the initial director who started the whole endeavor. And he was just walking out into the crowd and grabbing people and pulling them in and talking to them about his artwork. And his artwork is figurative and recognizable, and it's different enough that it's interesting from piece to piece, but it's similar enough that you can tell it's done by the same person.
Gotcha.
Which is always a great quality for someone who is trying to sell and be collected. But he just kept grabbing people. And one person he grabbed was the owner of a local gallery. It's Duff Lindsay. He owns Lindsay Gallery. And Duff was so interested in Wallace's work that he ended up duly representing him in addition to Open Door Art Studio and Gallery. Nice. So Wallace really became pretty well-known on a local level. He then kind of became well-known on a grander scale. So he has collectors all the way on the West Coast, specifically Pacific Northwest. He was awarded the Governor's Award of Excellence by John Kasich. John's wife actually started an initiative where she curated the governor's mansion with local artists, and Wallace was the first one who received that honor. So he's definitely kind of surpassed anything I will ever achieve as an artist, most certainly. But well-deserved. He's super talented.
I mean, I was going to say, like, well, and what kind of art are we talking? Are we talking about mostly canvas art, collected, or like, what's typical?
So Wallace, he kind of stays within the two-dimensional. Initially, acrylic on canvas. He has branched out to works on paper with chalk pastels, oil pastels, ink. I mean, if you went and like met him, he would probably draw something for you right now on paper and hand it to you. He's just that generous.
The Reliable Drug and Alcohol Testing Clinic is a leading provider and convenient source of pre-employment and occupational type testing. Their clinic provides services to a wide range of private businesses, healthcare facilities, and municipal and county courts. Reliable is an independent, locally owned clinic. As a result, they provide their services at a lower cost than the major hospitals, have faster turnaround times on test results, and eliminate the long waits typically incurred at these larger facilities. To learn more, visit reliabledrugtest.com.
That's one of the two talents I always wanted when I was younger, to draw something very, very awesome and give it to a lady and be like, hey, look at that. Right? Or be able to play an instrument that is so just like jaw dropping, like, I want him. And I never was able to do either one of those.
There's still time.
Right? Look, I hear that, but
the CEO who figures out piano at 40.
Right, I was just going to reference that. Like, there you go.
Yeah, maybe my son could teach me. He's pretty sweet on there.
He's good at the piano. Aside from art, I mean, we'll come back to art because that's the common ground here. But it sounds like you're also doing a lot of advocacy, higher wages, super important. I think that's one of the most important things right now is not only individuals advocating on their own behalf, but organizations, even DSPs advocating on their own behalf, because how many times do workers advocate on their own behalf, or how many times do they just complain and not do anything? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we are multidivisional. So I'm talking a lot about the gallery and the studio just because that's where I was for 10 years. But we, started with the ICF. We have supported community living. So we have independent homes all throughout Franklin County, now in Licking and beyond. We're, I think, in 3 counties now, Union maybe.
Cool.
We also have other day programs. Another vocationally based one is Open Door Stage and Screen. But really, the center of this are the people that we support. And not just the people that we support, but the people who support the people we support. So it's the direct support professionals. We do have an advocacy group within our organization for some of the people we support. They just went to the city council and were able to kind of advocate for themselves in honor of Disability Pride Month as well as LGBTQ plus Pride Month. So we're kind of constantly looking for the voices of really everyone involved in our organization to band together and to talk about what is important and what's needed. Direct support professionals, it's not an easy job. It's a hard job, and wages don't necessarily reflect that. And I think COVID-19 did a number on all of us, of course. So, you can go anywhere and see that staffing ratios are not amazing. And a difficult job with low pay versus another difficult job with low pay, what keeps someone? And I think what keeps someone is the organization that they work for, the support of the administrative staff. It's the promise that we're all in this together and no one is doing something that someone else wouldn't do. And it's also the promise that we're going to fight to make it better. We just received kind of a statewide increase in wages. And what does that look like? What does that mean? How is this going to be utilized? It's super important for any organization to have quality retention, obviously. And the reality is we can only pay so much. Everyone can only pay so much, but how do we make it worth everyone's while? Obviously, people, that's important. It's important to be around people that you care about, whether it's the people we support or each other. Flexibility, like what benefits can we give to people? I would say, I was just talking about this with a coworker this morning. For such a large-scale organization, there is this sort of mom-and-pop feel to it, where there are these amazing benefits where you can have a separation between work and home life where if something is needed, we'll cover for one another, flex your time out this way or that way if you really need to do something that isn't on the work front. So I think, it's going to be a constant struggle in any industry.
Yeah.
It's so funny because Paul and I were just kind of talking about this while I was talking to him about it. And in my organization, there was a few people that I was talking to, and they made it their point to say, I don't come to work to make friends. I'm here to take care of work, this, that, and the other. Now, the name of our company is Friends for Life, for one.
There you go.
But I mean,
that's not on brand.
Right? So it just didn't make sense, especially that I'm noticing all this conflict that they're having. There's like 3 or 4 people having conflict with each one another, and all of them are saying that they didn't come to work to make friends. And it's like, maybe we should think about this different.
Yeah, it's a long day.
Gosh. How about we try to make each other friends, and then we can put each other at the distance we need to then.
Right. You set the friend boundaries.
Yes. But just because we're friends doesn't mean that we have to eat dinner in front of each other. Or, so I say all of that to say, do you think our DSPs are given like a false narrative of what their jobs are? I personally think that we should be spending more time communicating with our individuals and becoming understanding of one another, so we have a understanding on how this could work as a team.
I don't think that I was provided a false narrative when I started, and I've sat through the orientations. I don't think that others are necessarily being provided a false narrative. I think that it's a long day if you are not just really working to make it interesting. And the people we support deserve that as well. Let's find common interests. Let's go out in the community together. Community integration. I mean, that's the tip of everyone's tongue and has been for quite some time. It should just be second nature at this point. It should have been second nature, honestly, from the beginning. Yeah. But but what are you going to do? But hey, why are we just sitting and doing nothing? And I would say the DSPs with our organization do such a great job of this.
Beautiful.
The one day program we have, career activity and community, it's almost fully community integration based in very, very small groups, based on common interests. So, they arrive and then they immediately go out. There's a history group. There's a group of people who are, I can't remember their name now, something divas, but they love to go get their nails done. There's a coffee club. There's a group that meets with someone at the local libraries and they discuss different literature that he's kind of selecting. And then they're like, I hate that one. And then he selects another one. And so awesome. I don't think that necessarily a false narrative is being sold. I think, like any job, it is what you make of it. And there are going to be, like we talked about at the beginning, there are going to be things that are more monotonous and more, administrative. There are going to be tasks that you don't prefer to others, but there are tasks that others prefer that you don't prefer. So it's really making the best of any situation. And like I said, kind of getting through those sort of mundane moments to get the payout. Yeah. A payout for me would be going out in the community with someone and sharing something that we both enjoy.
Yeah.
A payout is finally figuring out the right medium for an artist who has tried 20. A payout is having a group of actors write their own script and sitting and watching on opening night. That's the payout. And right. I think those are just as much the tasks that DSPs are faced with as are any of the more mundane day-to-day administrative kind of tasks that, that I wouldn't say, I wouldn't use those tasks to necessarily sell it, but I wouldn't hide them either. You got to know the full capacity of every job. So,
yeah. And that's another, it's called a job for a reason. It's still a job.
Right.
It's not always going to be, not everything's fun.
Right.
That's work. But it's meaningful work. It's
sure.
It's something that is different, especially if you're doing stuff on the art side.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to do that. That's not a thing that people get to do all the time. Get hired to do art stuff. You know what I mean?
college would have said different, but
Well, they're liars.
joke's on me. Like, I did not walk out with like a free ticket to New York City. You know, like I was like, wait a minute.
Well,
But, yeah.
college is a debatably useful tool at some point, anyways. Tony and I have gone into detail about this many times. Yeah. I could have done without an anthropology degree. I'll tell you that much. But
My sister was all about the anthro. She was
that's
all
great.
about it, but you know that she got her teaching degree then, so she switched to history. You know,
it's one of those like you get a PhD or you just vaguely fade off into the existence. And
you know.
you see where I'm at. So no, let's go back to the art stuff because I think it is really important. A lot of like providers and stuff offer art programs or something. It sounds like your guys' is completely different. You said you had like a film and theater side to it. That is like really cool stuff.
Yes.
Is that a pretty popular program?
It is, yeah. I think we are about a year out from Open Door Stage and Screen, but they do an annual calendar of productions that generally they will write on their own. They're sort of starting the film side of everything.
Cool.
As of the end of this year. Why are we in the end of a year? No, we're not. But as of the past few months, time doesn't exist anymore. But
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, they just completed Romeo and Juliet in 40 minutes. So that was the most recent. The next is, I think, Mystery at Snowball Inn. So it's like a holiday kind of, I would say sort of like Miss Marple, kind of like Agatha Christie, but like set during the holiday season kind of deal. They're in the process of writing it. So I'm not doing it justice. Everyone go see it and pretend that I wasn't the one who described it. It will be amazing. But it's super popular and it's really gaining popularity as it continues to grow.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm more into film than anything else. If I tried to draw something, it would be terrible. I can't do it at all. But, you know, I think it's a cool form of expression. A lot of people in general don't think it's an avenue for them to do stuff because it's just a weird thing. It's like, it's not photography. It's a storytelling, but people think it's just like this weird stuff that people with digital cameras go do. It kind of is. But like, I don't know. It's just a cool for me, it's a cool medium of expression because you can like tell a story and everybody watches TV and you don't have to have even with art, like traditional art, painting and stuff, you make a physical thing and then you like either display it or put it in a gallery or something.
Yeah.
Anybody can take a video and put it on YouTube and it's like nobody has to like it except for you. You know what I mean? It's really cool to me. And I guess you do the same with art. You can just hang it in your own house or stuff it in a portfolio.
My mom buys mine, so you know.
There you go. You got you.
But it's like a catch-22 because the fact that everyone can do it nowadays affordably everyone is doing it, but at the same time, it's really fun to like just mess with stuff.
Yeah.
That's what art is. Messing with stuff.
It's just perpetual messing with things. Yeah, definitely. So my degree is it's photography specifically.
Awesome.
And it's interesting sort of like when the first camera came out, this idea of like, well, that's not art. Why would that be art? And then the idea, well, why are we painting things if they can just capture it? And then the idea, wait, anyone can be a photographer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think my phone's camera is better than the camera I had in college at this point. And now with like the idea of film and podcasts and streaming and all of these different sort of more accessible avenues, like it's kind of like, I would say it's sort of part two of photography and just the masses being able to create and easily access artistic tools.
Yeah, photography's cool.
Well, where I love where this conversation goes is that I'm an awesome critic. Yeah. I can't do any of this
they
stuff.
all are. Don't you worry.
I'm a great critic.
I love that.
So I will critique the hell out of whatever you guys
Artists
think.
need that.
Yeah.
Like, we need the critics. Some of the critics make more than the artists.
They really do. And I'm a cinema hog. Like, I love digesting what a producer has done in a film, and to see that, or a director be able to change something visual just with some sound, or
Yeah.
with the camera cutting, switching it to black and white. All of these different things. You can take something to be joyful and humorous and turn it into scary and ominous. Like,
Yeah.
mind blown. Like, and there's so many like little ways of doing that I don't know. I like the psychological portions of it and how the human mind dictates all of these things. So art is definitely something that's subjective to everyone.
Yeah. Well, and with film, you're accessing so many different senses, you know, and like, you talk about like photography and you're focused on, well, maybe it's black and white, or maybe it's color. Or are you pumping up the black versus the white? Are you pumping this color versus that? You're talking about shadows and light, and with film, you're talking about like the nuances of sound, but also light and color. And those are basic principles of the fine arts as well.
No, everybody thinks photography and video is easy until they get a camera in their hand, and then they're
Right.
like, what am I doing?
Until you end up with a really ugly photo, and then you're like, oh, well, there you go.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's just a really useful thing, and it's just a bummer that it's all had to been commercialized at this point. Like, I think people are a little hesitant to make any form of art nowadays because they're kind of worried. Like, anybody can put it online and then have people be like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they had to tell you in person.
Yeah.
Right? That's true. They had to seek you out.
Yeah.
Now it's just like constant.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's such a great thing. I think without art, there would be no society as we know it. It's just like, you need that. The most expensive things in the world that rich people hang in their mansions are art pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you think, they always say it's the best of investments, art and jewelry, but it's our history. It's how we're documenting what's happening, and it has been since the beginning of humanity. Yeah. Like, you go back to cave etchings or cave paintings or mark making, and like, this is how we know what happened, or how we know at least that someone was there. Right. And it's still the same, it doesn't have to be sort of like the traditional documentary photography in order to document what's happening. Mm-hmm. It's documenting a movement, it's documenting a feeling, like that's all valid, and it's important. So
yeah, I think so too. And it's using it in this context of the IDD world to help people realize like what they love. I mean, there's so many avenues for people to create. It doesn't like, I know people think of like people with disabilities making art, they think like macaroni and art and stuff. And I've seen like amazing art and stuff from people that have disabilities. There's in Toledo, there's a film festival, an IDD film festival, and it's just so cool. Like, we need to get something in there because it just looks super fun, and everybody just has a good time. It's just like pure creativity, allowing people to just express themselves fully, and that's something not even specific to the DD. I think everyone needs that.
I think it's just humanity in general. We all have different points of view. We all have different ways of thinking of things, of expressing things. Like that's not standard to an artist with a disability. That's just standard to humanity in general.
Yes,
exactly. Well, I think what you guys are doing at Open Door is awesome. It sounds like you guys have a lot of different stuff going on.
We do.
And it's really awesome to just get people involved in the community more. That's always a goal of this field. And
for sure,
back in the day, it was not like that. So we're glad to see all this progress being made, a lot of advocacy. So if people want to learn more about you guys, how can they find Open Door? With the website, social media, view the art? Where's the gallery? Where's all the cool stuff?
Yeah, we have all the socials. So opendoorcolumbus.org is our website. That'll lead you to all of our social media accounts, as well as do a breakdown of sort of every division that we have. The gallery space is in Grandview Heights. And then the majority, the bulk would be on the west side of Columbus off of Industrial Mile Road. But we do have Union County and Licking County as well that we're tapping into and having different programs as well. Go to our website, Insta, Facebook. I'm not a social media person. They're all there. LinkedIn, all the social media.
You'll find it.
Yeah, you'll find it. I'm only 36. What's wrong with me?
Well, with that, before we go, I want to introduce you to a wonderful part of the show we call Rapid Fire.
All right.
So, Rapid Fire.
It's Tony's art.
I love it.
This is my art.
I like.
I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Yes, because
there
we
you
can't
go.
afford actual drum rolls.
That's okay. That's all right. I'm in it.
But I'm going to ask you 3 questions in a would you rather scenario. The quicker you answer them, the better.
Okay.
But if not, we'll just go down a rabbit hole of talking about them.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
First one. Would you rather read minds or know every single language on the planet?
Ooh, know every language.
That would sound fun.
Yeah, I don't want to know what people think of me.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I hear that.
It's not my business.
Would you rather have a mind forever young or a body forever young?
Oh, body.
Yes. I mean, who needs a brain when you got guns like these, right?
Yeah. That's all right.
All right. Lastly, would you rather get punched by Ronda Rousey or slapped by Will Smith? I know which one I'll pick.
I would. I'd rather get slapped by Will Smith.
Yes, I think everybody would like that.
It was a moment. I'm not saying it was a good moment.
No,
but
no,
it was,
not at all.
It was definitely a
terrible.
moment. I'd be part of the legacy.
If Ronda Rousey would kill anyone, she's
Dude,
very
she's-
strong. I
yeah,
would be
she's-
terrified to get hit by her.
For a punch by her, but she's real good with the arm bar. Like,
I could take a slap, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Will Smith doesn't seem like he hits that hard.
no,
I think it was more the anger in the eye. Like, that would have made me cry. The slap? No, but that, like, angry... and then, like... Jada, upset, like that was a lot of anger.
It was the walk away for me. It looked like something behind him should have exploded. Like it should have been an exploding car or something, and he just walked by.
Like that would have given me a stomach ache.
Yeah.
That's funny. A year later, we're still talking about this.
We're still making it relevant, right?
Right.
You know,
That was
well,
raw
I don't
human
even-
expression. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate all the work you do, and we're excited to share it with the world.
You guys
Yes.
too. Thank you for having me.
THS Remote Supports is clearly focused on improving independent living through dynamic and personalized services. Their systems have been carefully developed and perfected to ensure that everyone receives the best care through the least intrusive means possible. Located in Cincinnati, Ohio, they've spent over 20 years providing in-home supports to individuals with disabilities. If you or someone you know is looking for a remote service provider, go to thsrss.com or call 513-882-9088.